It was 1 year ago that we talked with diva, queen, and life coach Heidi Parr Kerner about things to look forward to in 2020, ways to set goals, way to enter the new year and make some of our dreams come true. Well, this week in Erie, we decided to revisit that topic since 2020 was kind of a bust for a lot of people. So joining us now is Heidi Parr Kerner, the queen herself from Queen's headquarters. Heidi, we talked about how to run into 2020 with gusto and make our vision boards, and it was going to be a great year, but it's kind of turned into the year of disappointment. So how do we look back at this year of disappointment in the past and move forward? What's your advice?
Well, that's a really good question. First of all, Happy New Year, Jill.
I
And you're absolutely right. I mean, a year ago, the two of you were talking our vision boards, and we were so excited about everything. And then, like you said, everything just went bust and just went completely over. So, how do we deal with those shattered dreams? And the words that come to mind, two words, this is the Queen's advice, is one is disappointment. And for some of us, that may not even be a strong word. Many of us, as we know, we have friends, family members that during this time have actually experienced tragedy. And how can we, or some just an inconvenience. So I wanted to share a little bit to put on my queen's cap and a little bit of the therapist part of me in how to navigate our disappointments, as you say, our shattered dreams, and so that we can look forward to this new year with hope. And one of the first things I want to say about being disappointed, the therapist in me, is to acknowledge that it's okay to feel disappointed. We need to kind of grieve those feelings of what did not work out. So, Jill, you always know that I like to put the ball back in your court. Can you share with us, just one or two things this past year that you were excited about, that you had maybe on your vision board, and that you were disappointed that didn't quite come through for you?
Yes, a year ago at this time, I was planning on a trip to Paris in August with my daughter for her 16th birthday, and that didn't happen. So that was my biggest disappointment. But like you said, you've got to put it in perspective because there are people who lost people, there were weddings canceled, and I feel like my disappointment is something I can do again someday, but it's disappointing for me at least.
Absolutely. And again, I remember that from last year, and that was a very big trip and to spend special time with your daughter. So, and for me, when I have my Coffee Club Diva group, all these women, and the minute March happened, we shifted gears and we got on a Zoom call. And I have to say, there were 60 women there crying, including myself. We were just like, what is happening? But it's okay to let yourself grieve. That's important. But then step two, how do we move beyond that? And instead of saying, why me, which we can get into victim mode, and it's easy to go there when so many things, one after another, haven't seemed to go right. It's really reframing that and looking for the lessons. And I know for myself, many of my friends, family members, colleagues, clients, when we look underneath it all, there were lessons to be learned. So, Jill, back at you. So, what were some of the lessons that you learned this past year before we even get into the new year? What were some of the lessons that you learned as a result of all these situations that happened?
Well, one thing I learned, and I know we've talked about it here at the station a lot, because for us things just plugged along as normal. We didn't have the I hate to say luxury, but we kept coming into work, which for me was a blessing because I would have gone crazy working from home and not having my coworkers here. And we kind of got through it. And the first 2 months were extremely difficult from a work perspective. A lot of information coming in, but also a gratefulness just to have a job because there were so many people not working. So that kind of put things in perspective for me. And it always seemed like someone had it worse. And that
You know what?
helped me.
Exactly. You used two words that I loved. You used the words blessing and gratitude. And that's the whole thing. How do we reframe it? So many people are going through so many different situations. And how can we come from courage? This is a challenging time, and have compassion for ourselves and for others. So, absolutely reframing it. But it takes some strength, it takes some mindset intentions, right, to stay in that positive place. But you're right, because so many people had it more difficult. Then to know you're not alone. So many of us, I know my family, we Zoomed, we did videos with my clients. We all kind of pivoted. This is our new best friend, Zoom. We pivoted to this, but knowing that you need to have a tribe. So many people isolating and they're alone, if they're elderly, or I just know a lot of single women, they don't have kids, they're alone. To reach out to those people, and again, to really to really help them to feel better. So those were a lot of the ways of dealing with the disappointment. And then the transition is, well, now how do we pivot and how do we go into this new year and into what I call is the new normal? So do you want to go there?
Yeah, let's go there. Tell us how to overcome this disappointment because it has been one after another.
Well, a couple of things. So the first thing is just to reflect back. And I like to say, what were the gifts? So what were the gifts that you learned? For example, I know for my husband, Phil, and I, during the summer, we didn't do our normal activities. I'm grateful we didn't have a trip to Paris that year planned. But you know what? We looked at saying, you know what? This is quiet. There was actually less stress. There was less stress trying to go to parties, saying, no, what are the gifts that we were given during this time that we can take into the new year? So that's number one, is just to basically reflect back and say, what were the positives to move forward? The second thing is just to refocus. So many women I know, including myself, we were able to pivot. You know, my business has been here in Erie. I have some clients across the country, but I always wanted to go more online. I always wanted to go out there and meet women around the world. And you know what? Even though it was uncomfortable with so much of the technology, I did that. I'm doing that. I am being inspired. I'm meeting all these cool, fabulous entrepreneurial women around the world. So our bullet is, how can we refocus our attention and how can we recreate? How can we recreate who we are and how can we bring that into the new year? So, because you kept going to work every day, and still, Jill, for you, you were still able to look the part. Many of us are walking around at home. I hear a big complaint of women living in their sweatpants, and we're going to the grocery stores. We have masks on. We've stopped wearing lipstick. What are some of the gifts that you learned on a deeper level that you feel like you can bring into this new year?
Well, I learned that I never want to go to another fire again. I had a great little tribe that we hung out, but I'm sick of going to fires and hanging out outside. I need a better social life. I know
Yeah,
that's not the right answer, but like that's one thing I have learned from this year is that I never want to sit around another fire again.
I know. So the thing is, but you know what? It's like, this is what it is, and it doesn't
It
always
is.
have to be that way. You don't want to sit around
But
another
I
fire.
did find though, I'm grateful for my friends. We had a small group and I am so grateful that I had them and that we were able to kind of navigate, like you said, that new normal. And Heidi, I know we are going to wrap it up here in terms of talking about those 3 R's, which are very important because we're going to save more. This is a 2-part This Week in Erie. So next week on Erie, we're going to talk about how to get back into the groove again, which is so important.
Absolutely.
So
I look
Heidi,
forward
thank
to
you
it.
so much. And let's not forget those 3 R's. Reflect,
So the three
refocus.
R's are reflect, refocus, and recreate. You can do it. Recreate yourself and take the gifts from this past year and bring it into the new year.
And make a new vision board. Heidi Parr
That's right.
Kerner, thank you so much. And we look forward to hearing from you again next week.
Thank you.
And that's This Week in Erie.